So hello, my name is Tara Vargas Wallace, and I am the founder and CEO of Amplify POC. POC is an acronym for People of Color, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization with the mission to eradicate the racial wealth gap and foster ownership in communities of color on Cape Cod and beyond. So Amplify started back in 2020 after the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and countless others. And it started by people out in the community just looking for ways to contribute or support, or not contribute, but to support the Black community. And people were contacting me looking for like, are there Black businesses? Is there a list of Black businesses? That seemed to be like the one thing that stuck. So we started back in May of 2020 after the murder of George Floyd. Mm-hmm. And then we filed for our 501c3 and received our official nonprofit status in July of 2021. And we've been going ever since. Unfortunately, the organization has sort of taken off and it's grown a lot bigger than I have the capacity to really deal with. We are volunteer run. We are not fully funded yet. It is incredibly hard to raise money for a nonprofit organization, never mind a racial justice nonprofit organization, and then add on Cape Cod to that. So I'm originally from the Bronx, and when I came to the Cape, it was a culture shock. But one thing that was really comforting was, I had come here as a homeless teenage mom, and my grandmother owned a home here, and we would spend summers, my brothers and I would spend summers coming here and visiting my grandmother, and this would be our safe space. It was like our safe haven from the chaotic life of poverty that we lived at home. And it wasn't just poverty, it was violence, and there was a lot of trauma growing up. Mom was sick, I'll just put it that way, and she didn't always make the best choices, and I had to grow up early and quick and raise my brothers, and that was I guess my first role in leadership. It was like I had to kind of step up and be the mom in my family. But anyways, I moved to the Cape, in the domestic violence situation myself with my daughter's father, and as soon as he went to prison, I fled and I came here, and this is where my grandmother was. Unfortunately, about 3 months after we arrived, me and my then 2-year-old daughter, my grandmother passed away. Housing Assistance Corporation was one of the organizations out in the community that just really stepped up to the plate and helped me to stabilize my housing situation. But not only that, they offered me a job. And, I was 18, I had just turned 18 when I started working for them. And it was life-changing, this job, because I had only started off as just a front desk receptionist, but the support and just the sense of community that I received from the people, the folks at Housing Assistance Corporation, really taught me, it was like it had a domino effect. It really showed and brought out my passion for social justice, and I wanted to be able to help people in the ways that HAC had helped me. And I always knew that I wanted to do something along those lines, and so I stayed in the community as a social worker, eventually, becoming, I moved up. I went from being a case manager, I went from working the front desk to being a secretary, to being a case manager, to eventually a coordinator, and, worked my way up. And eventually, I spent 20 plus years working in the community, deeply, intimately, with communities of color, and seeing, the same stories that I grew up with over and over again, and there being such a lack of resources, and being so frustrated with that, and learning all about how policies affect how resources get to communities of color, and learning all about the legislative process and how important it is to speak up and you know, if we don't speak up, we're not going to get the resources that we need. And we're the ones that are as disproportionately impacted by these issues. When I say we, I mean folks of color, you know, Latinos, Black, Indigenous, Asian, all of anyone that's ever been oppressed, or, you know, comes from a marginalized background, is disproportionately so impacted by these social issues. And the Cape is special in terms of the sense of community that's here. There are large communities of color here. It may be a mostly majority white region, but there are large communities of color here, and everyone, you know, even our allies, especially our allies, have just been so helpful to me in my journey, and I wanted to make sure that I was paying it forward, and that's why the Cape is special to me. You know, when I was going through some really rough times, granted this was many years ago, but I was taken care of, and I was heard, and I want to make sure that my people are taken care of and that they're heard as well. And so that's why Amplify is here, and we're not playing around. We're here to stay, and we're here to really help people see, you know, where they need to do better, and we're here to make an impact.